Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Kindness Matters podcast. I'm your host, Mike Rathbun. On this podcast, we promote positivity, empathy, and compassion because we believe that kindness is alive and well, and there are people and organizations that you may not have heard of in the world, making their communities a better place for everyone. And we want you to hear their stories. On this podcast, we talk about matters of kindness because kindness matters. Hey, welcome up to the show, everybody. I am your host, Mike Rathbun. Thank you so much for choosing to take 30 minutes of your time to listen to my little podcast today. I very, very much appreciate it. And thank you so much for being here. Because, and you are the lucky ones, you that chose to join us today, because I have an amazing guest for you today. Her name is Rebecca Reed, and she is the founder and CEO of Siendo. I like saying that. Siendo.
Yeah.
Spanish. We'll get into that in a minute. And what Siendo is a workplace well-being company. Rebecca, in her role, supports leaders and organizations that prioritize people. And thank you so much for being on today, Rebecca. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, so good to be here, Mike. I love everything your podcast stands for. I really do.
Oh, bless your heart. And I'm not saying that in an American Southern kind of way. That was sincere. You haven't always been an entrepreneur. Did you start off in the healthcare field?
No. I started off in the banking field very first.
That's right.
Entry into the world. I did like a business manager, like a Bachelor of Science in Business Management. I worked in accounting, I worked in finance, I worked in corporate banking, and I was probably on track to be like a business consultant. And so just on my way, just got lost. Thankfully, I did. And I kind of got into this world through a bit of lived experience, but managing teams through mental health, and then got into healthcare through that, and started working on wards.
Very poor note taking on my part.
Correct, it is.
But no, I mean, because where you are now, that is direct result of your experience in the business world, right?
Yeah, exactly. And also the healthcare side that you're talking about, because so I had a bit of lived experience around poor mental health myself, and I started on this journey of like just going through recovery and trying to understand why I was doing the things I was doing and how I could like just repair my own mental health. And so I got a bit hooked into it then. I went through a lot of therapy and coaching and all the kind of lovely self-help stuff then. And then if you go forward a few years into the banking world, I was managing groups, like various teams. And honestly, the amount of stress and burnout and kind of toxic behaviors that we're seeing in the banking world, like all this stuff that was coming up, that was kind of what kind of moved me quite like strongly, I suppose, in this area, because I started coaching. Basically, a lot of managers trained as coaches. And I trained during my time there as a stress and burnout coach to try and help a lot of like people around me with it, and started coaching my team, started coaching people in different teams. And honestly, the amount of times that stuff would come up and I'm like, oh, okay, I don't know how to deal with this. And I felt so out of my depth from a mental health point of view. I just thought I need to know more. And then I went into the healthcare side because I started thinking, right, where can I find out more? Like, how can I get more of this experience? Yeah. And my bright idea was, why don't I work on the weekends on mental health wards? And so I'd be moonlighting Saturday and Sunday on the mental health ward and working in the bank Monday to Friday. And it was this kind of experience of being on the wards on a Sunday where I'd be supporting someone trying to take their own life and then going back to work on Monday and they were arguing about mail merges. And I always talk about that clash because I was like, these two different worlds, it doesn't make sense. Yeah. And I really got passionate about it from there to see like, what can we do earlier on to really get like kind of that early intervention prevention side of things that could get people early doors so they don't end up in the place I saw them in the wards.
Right, for sure. And I mean, the last few years has really it's just blossom sounds like a good thing. It's exploded, right?
And
The mental health in the workplace. I don't even, and I mean, thankfully, I'm an entrepreneur, and I have been since 2006, and I do not miss the corporate world at all.
yep.
But there are people, there are a lot of people in that space, and I can see it from because as an entrepreneur, I had employees. I did not know how to support my employees. I mean, aside from paying a wage and trying to be a decent human being about their working with me, I did not know how to do that. But that's where you step in, isn't it?
Mm. Yeah, so like like everything I trained in was to basically give people the tools, because that's such a common experience, Mike, where managers are given like people to manage whole big teams, like ranging in sizes, and they're not given any training around. Oh, what if one of my team members has anxiety? Like, what do we do? Like, what if one of my team members are having a panic attack? What if one of my team members wants to get signed off because they're really low, or they get diagnosed depression?
Mm-hmm.
Or even just like how to be a good human and how to have these conversations, because like all these conversations come up about our mental health and we fear it, like it's something to be ashamed of, like it's something like we should talk about. And so that's where I kind of step in and try and give people like confidence to, but also the tools they need to have these conversations with ease.
Yeah, because it can be really hard. I mean, we had an employee who we were fairly certain was in a domestic violence situation at home. But you don't want to ask about that, right? Although it's really needed, you should. But you're like, well, that's private, and I don't want to ask about that. So do you, and you practice something we talked off camera before, and I don't know if this is the right time to drop this in here, but about creating psychologically safe, engaged, and resilient workplaces. Can you talk to me about that process?
Yeah, I love this series, and it's a really good time to bring it in actually, because if you can give managers, you can give people like all the tools and techniques they need in the world to hold these conversations. But if people don't feel safe, they're not going to put their hands up and say they're struggling. They're not going to come forward and go and start those conversations with their manager because they don't feel psychologically safe to. And so psychological safety, if your listeners haven't heard of it, it's basically it's this construct that people have been developing research around a lot over the last few decades, of understanding that basically our nervous system is constantly scanning our environment all the time for our safety. So we're scanning our environment going, are we safe with this person? Are we safe in this environment? Do I feel okay right now? And if the answer is no, then it responds in your kind of your stress response, whatever that is. Now, what we're doing when we're in the workplace is we're scanning our workplace and being like, do I feel safe around these people? Am I okay? And often that safety isn't one of the things that we nurture within the workplace, because we're like, got deadlines, got to get things done, people live on edge. And so all that safety is eroded. And so then we're telling people to talk about their mental health. We're telling people to reach out and use their employee workplace programs around counselling. But if their system has already scanned and gone, you're not safe to do that, then what they'll do is they won't ask for help, they won't challenge, they won't reach out for support, because their system has told them not to.
Right. So when I'm looking around my workplace, I have to dig back a few years on this, but the various people that I work with, as a manager, how can I facilitate making my employees feel safe in the workplace? I mean, am I supposed to be looking for interpersonal conflicts between employees, or how does that work?
Yeah, such a good question. I think as a manager, you're in a really powerful position to impact your employees' days, to impact their experience of the workplace. And like they say, don't they, like often people don't leave the job, they leave the manager.
Oh.
And there's even research to show that your manager has the same amount of impact on your mental health as your partner, and even more of an impact on your mental health than your therapist and your doctor.
Really?
Like, yeah, it's wild. I'll find the research and put this in the show notes, because it's such a powerful insight of being understand like what a massive role managers play and why they need to know this stuff. And so, as a manager, having a kind of understanding, like you said, interpersonal conflict, is that there? Is it something that needs to be managed? Often we fear it and we're like, oh, I don't want to get involved because we don't have the tools. Yeah. But actually, is there training that you can get? Is there whether HR can support you or something to work with that? Because you do want to create that safety, like little things like challenging, for example. So challenging is one of the things that we want to make sure we encourage our team to do, because challenging can feel really personal, right? So if we put an idea forward as a manager, and we sometimes our teams, if they don't feel safe, they will sit there quietly. And often that silence is not a healthy thing. It's not necessarily they're always in agreement with us. It's the fact that sometimes they don't feel safe enough to challenge our opinion or our decisions. And so our ability to be able to say to our teams, look, if you ever want to add in your own ideas, if you ever think that maybe the idea I've suggested isn't going to work really well, or you want to add in or just challenge me at any point, challenge me. Like, this is how we think well. Like, we think better when we think together on this. And you create that safety so they can put their hands up.
Absolutely, yeah. I've been in those meetings, and I have been that person who's like, I know my manager, he does not want to hear an opposite view from me, right? Or from him. Yeah. And yeah, it's so important. And you do need that communication. Any organization does. And you've done some work with some pretty powerful organizations. Nike, Oxford University, Motorola. What's that?
I've been around.
In all the best ways, though. You know what you're talking about. You know your stuff. And I like to think. So when you are also, you're certified as a mental health first aid instructor and a suicide first aid instructor. What goes into that? I mean, I'm guessing that was from your time at the ward on the weekends. Is that?
Interestingly, not.
Really?
No. Yeah. So I trained a lot of folk in there. So we have our national health system here. And I've trained a lot of folk in mental health first aid, and it's not something that is commonly trained to every member of staff within the National Health Service, which I think is wild. But I got trained in this separately because it was something that basically the MHFA England, it originated in Australia, and MHFA basically was designed by these Australian researchers and nurse practitioner who realised that there wasn't enough literacy in mental health within an area, and it was based originally in Canberra, and they started doing this research and they realized how people just didn't know how to talk about mental health. They didn't know how to support themselves, they didn't know how to support their friends, their family, everyone else. And so they designed this program. This is back in 2001. They designed this program that went, right, if someone was having a panic attack, what would you do? If someone was showing signs of low mood, if someone was even showing signs of psychosis, or even suicide, someone said to you, I'm having thoughts of suicide, what do you do?
Yeah. I wouldn't have the foggiest.
Exactly. These tools should be something that people teach you in school. Like, they teach you, just as your general education in life. But they realized there was this gap, so they started building this program. Then that kind of fed out, and a few countries took it on. Eventually, UK took it on, and America do have their own as well. And they kind of roll it out. It's getting bigger. Like in the UK at the moment, we've got 1 million mental health first aiders.
Oh, wow.
But if you think how many people in the UK are still there's still I think it's 1 in 35 people or something like that. So it's still a low amount. Yeah. But it just gives you the tools that if you are faced with any crisis situations, you know what to do. But also, if you just want to have a really comforting conversation where someone doesn't minimize your feelings, where someone actually listens to you and really listens, like that, it gives you the tools just to have general conversations as a human.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, I'm in America, so healthcare.
Yep.
Everything I learned about the National Health Service, I learned from watching Call the Midwife.
Oh, really?
There you go.
Brilliant.
Love that show. Anyway.
Yeah.
What's that?
I said, all you need to know then.
Well, and because it started, I think the events of the series started, I want to say shortly after the war. So before NHS was even born, right? And then it follows, and yeah, it's good. Anyhow, so I think more people should be trained on how to, because I mean, we've all seen those people who, I don't know if I would recognize an anxiety attack. My son has had them before, and he actually had to say, "Dad, I'm having an anxiety attack." I'm like, "Oh my God, what do I do?" Right?
Exactly.
And it could be useful both in the workplace and in your personal life. That information about how to talk to somebody who's actively going through something like that.
I think
go ahead.
a lot of times people worry, like the biggest worry that I see is that people will think, if I don't want to say the wrong thing.
Yes.
And so because I don't want to say the wrong thing, I won't say anything at all. And that blocks people so much. And often this course, but the problem is, if I go back a step, when we don't say anything because we worry about making it worse, when we don't say anything, people fill in the gaps. So they will, if someone's not reaching out and not asking them, their manager's not asking them how they are, their friend's not reaching out because they're worried and they don't want to make it worse, the person on the receiving end thinks, well, no one cares. No one wants to even know. Like, nobody cares about it. And they want to talk often, but they don't know how to start the conversation.
Yeah.
And so overcoming those roadblocks and being like, do you know what? If you are somebody who's able to move forward and start the conversation, sit with the discomfort of the conversation, hold that space for pain for them without trying to like put a plaster on it, without trying to fix it, without trying to make everything better, without trying to paint a silver lining around it, just sit with it, and you are one in the few rather than one in the many. Like, it's such a skill.
Yeah, I am such a typical guy. If somebody says they're having a problem or they have this issue or that issue, and I'm like, I have to fix it, right?
Yeah.
I'm a guy. That's my job. I fix it. And that's sometimes, I don't know which is worse, being silent or trying to fix it, right? But yeah, and we talk about that a lot on the Kindness podcast, about sometimes the kindest thing you can do is just to listen when somebody has an issue. And you don't have to fix it, right? Just listen.
Yeah, 100%. Like, often we can count on our hands the number of people in our lives that really sit down, really listen to us, and actually really care what we're saying.
Yeah.
Like, often people are listening to respond because they want to tell you a story that's related to them, or while you're talking, they're thinking about their response, like in the moment. They're going, what am I going to say to this? Or they're like, even my mental health first aiders, when I train them, I tell them, like, often when someone's talking to you, you're going to be in your head thinking, right, what do I do next? What part of this kind of, because there's a whole framework you use as a first aider. So they'll be thinking through, like, what's next in the framework? And I always go to people, just it's like mindfulness ping pong. Your brain's going to go off, and you have to bring yourself back. And it'll go off again, it'll think about something else, and you bring yourself back. And just be present with that person. And if you are really, really with them, they will feel it, because it's such a rare experience that someone's really, really listening to you and not concerned about whether they say anything or not. And just holding that space, they will feel it. And then you will just know what to say next, because you're truly present and you're truly listening.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, that's the best advice I think anybody can give us. So now I just wanted to talk about. So there's a lot on your website, and we will have a link in the show notes. But
Yeah.
all of the courses, the initiatives. What is mental flex?
Oh, yeah, it's a good day to celebrate this. So, my mental flex was basically my baby that I've kind of has come out of my experience of being a parent. And so I had quite like many parents had like a bit of a wild ride. And I basically was started like after having my little boy, I went through a little period of postnatal depression as well. But also he was really poorly for a year and a half. And I just realized as I was going through this, and this was me as a mental health professional who knew this stuff, I realized how little help there was around like the mental fitness and the mental health for parents, and like how like my experience of training people before having children
Yeah,
versus my experience of training people after having children is two different
it
worlds.
is.
Because I used to talk about like, mental health and the way we look after self-care and the way we support ourselves pre-baby. Like you had all the time in the world to look after, do self-care.
Yeah,
And then having a kid, I was like, oh, right, okay, so you just lock yourself in the bathroom for any time that you can get. Like, okay, I get it. And I just had a broad understanding, and I started basically shaping all of my kind of mental fitness strategies into the world of being a parent. Like, what did that look like as a parent? Like, how can you regulate yourself? Because when I look at like the mental health, like all the stats, all the figures,
right.
all the experiences, the mental health of our young people is getting worse. And what you find is that often there's so much focus on young people and how to support their mental health that actually we don't go upstream. And I need to remember that our children are mirroring our nervous systems. Our children are mirroring our emotional responses to the world.
Right.
And so when we show up in a room and we're feeling anxious, even if we've got a face on and we're like, everything's okay, don't worry, they they feel us. Like there's basically our nervous systems, just like our nervous systems scan the workplace and everywhere else, the children's nervous systems are constantly scanning. And there's something called neuroception where we basically pick up the emotions and the feelings and the kind of the nervous system imprints of those around us. And we absorb it. So like our children are internalizing our emotions, but they haven't got the language to explain what they're feeling. So if they're feeling their mum's or their dad's anxiety, but the parents aren't talking about it, the parents aren't regulating, then the children don't know why they feel the way they do. They just do. And so it's like there's so much power that can come from regulating yourself as a parent, working into like, how can I look after my own mental fitness and parenting yourself first, and then that will fold out to your children. And that's why I've got like my little course, like my journal is officially live. That's why I said today's a really powerful day.
Let's do it now.
This is what it is. Yeah, I know. My journal officially went live, and it's available in America. But it went live on Amazon today. I woke up to a email saying your journal's live.
Congratulations!
And I was so excited. Yeah, it's such a massive piece of work. And so I was like, Mum, Dad, I'm an author. But yeah, so it's live, and it's just me trying to make, like, I've basically created my course, but into a journal as well, to try and make it super accessible. So like more people can do it, because I think there's selfish reasons as well, because I know like I'm doing everything I can to regulate myself, to give Joel the best, my little boy, to give him the best start, to give him the best emotional blueprint, to give him the best kind of moving forward. But his life will be better and easier and stronger if the children around him are also experiencing that. So it's going to help him, it's going to help me, it's going to help all the parents, hopefully. And I think it'll have a massive knock on in generations if we can start with ourselves.
That is so cool. And I mean, we all do things throughout our life where we're pretty proud of what we accomplished, and honestly, if you're a parent and you raise an even relatively healthy and stable kid, kudos.
Yeah.
But I mean, this will have an impact, a positive impact on so many parents. We will also have a link to that, the Amazon link, I think, or will it be available on your website, or?
I haven't put it on there yet, Mike.
What?
That's a very good idea. You can click through to Mental Flex. You can click through onto Mental Flex on the website, but that's only when you buy the journal with the course. But I actually will. That's a very good idea, Mike. I'm going to put it.
I will put a link just to the Amazon site for your book, your journal, and we'll get that in there.
Yeah.
And yeah, now do you work with? Okay, well, I guess we already established you work with international companies because Nike is all over, and what was it? A Motorola.
A lot of my clients popped around everywhere.
So if I'm an American CEO and I say, I don't think my employees are doing too well. My employees need some support, and I don't know how to do it. They can come to you.
Always, yeah. Always.
Please do.
Yeah, please. Contact me.
That's awesome. Rebecca, you are so... Oh, wait a minute. I want to talk... Tell me the story about the origins of Siendo.
All right. Oh, yeah, that's a nice story. I think it's nice.
I love this story.
Well, basically, it started because I spent years and years. So I was doing obviously like a side hustle alongside my work. So I was like building. I spent years building Siendo to the point that I could take off. And I took off 2 weeks before the pandemic.
Oh, God.
Which is fun. I spent years and years trying to build this. And I went through this whole period of like, I registered domains under different ideas. I got like my logo created with a different name. And nothing I was creating, I felt, oh, I like that. And I remember having this conversation after I mean like years of battling with this name, right? And I had this conversation with my sister, and I was just like, I don't know what to call my company. Like, I just don't know. And she was just saying, like, if you look at companies, like internationally, they often just have one word. And so like Amazon, eBay, in the UK we have Tesco's, we have Boots, we have like a lot of like Walmart, like all of these have one word. Pick one word that just roll off your tongue. And she was like, and then pretend to pick up the phone and introduce yourself from that company. I was just
That's a good idea.
Okay. Play it out. And so I was like, and I was trying to learn Spanish at the time, and I haven't got there, I haven't got very far. But I started learning Spanish, and I was looking for words in Spanish that were linked to mental health, to mindfulness, to everything. And I found being is siendo in Spanish, so being. And I was like, ooh. And so I was like, hello, it's Rebecca from Siendo. And I was like, yes,
nailed it.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have changed the logo for this podcast 20 times maybe. It's stupid. It's I'm like, I'll go along for a year and I'll go, nope, that's not it. But yeah, finding that right thing. Congratulations. Congratulations, Siendo. Congratulations on all of the great things that you're doing. I wish you so much success. And thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for doing this podcast, Mike. I think like you need to really, really know what like a massive impact that has. Like you often think that humans should like kindness comes, of course, why wouldn't you be kind? But actually it takes a lot. It does take effort to be kind because it shouldn't do, but it does, because we are dealing with so much stuff every day. And kindness can often drop away, especially when we're in a fear response. And so having reminders from people like you who are taking this time out of their life for sole reason to make people feel kinder, to bring more happiness into the world. Like, I really, really want you to acknowledge how powerful that is, because we need more Mikes in this world. We need more of you.
And that's why I do this, to let the world know that there are Rebecca Reeds out in the world making a positive difference. So awesome. Thank you so much. We will talk again soon. Take care and have a great week.
Bye, everybody.
I want to thank you for taking this time to listen to this episode with my guest, Rebecca Reed. I hope you're able to take something positive from this episode, from the time that you spent with us today. I hope you're inspired, motivated, maybe even moved. If you felt any of those emotions, those positive emotions, please make sure to tell your friends and family and coworkers and people in the grocery store, whatever the case may be, that you have found an uplifting and positive podcast. And you know what? I'm always trying to give you a better podcast, right? But I need your help. I need some engagement from you folks. So if you appreciated anything I've said in this episode or anything you heard in this episode, reach out. Drop a note. Drop a comment, either on our socials or on the podcast site, wherever you happen to listen to us. It would mean the world to us to have that engagement from you. Appreciate it. And you can also feel free to follow us and like and subscribe on all of our social media pages: Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, whatever it might be. This podcast is part of the Mayday Media Network. Maybe you have an idea for a podcast and need some production assistance, or you already have a podcast and you're looking for a supportive network to join. Check out MaydayMediaNetwork.com and check out the many different podcasts they have. Shows like Afrocentric, Spoil My Movie, Generation Mixtape, In a Pickle Radio Show, Wake Up and Dream with D'Anthony Palin, Stacks of Packs, and the Time Pals. We'll be back again next week with a brand new episode, and we would be honored if you would join us. You've been listening to the Kindness Matters podcast. I'm your host, Mike Rathbun. Have a fantastic week.